All right, sports fans, how's everybody out there doing? William Martin coming at you one more time here on YouTube with another edition of the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge Podcast. Now, each of the last 4 years have seen the Milwaukee Brewers reach the postseason, but that run came to an end here in 2022 as Milwaukee is going to fall just short of making the playoffs. Now, the Brewers were expected to contend with the St. Louis Cardinals in the National League Central. And honestly, wow, when the season began, I really said that this was going to be a back and forth race. And for the most part, it was until the second half of the season when St. Louis really got it going and Milwaukee faded. And, after that, and once it became apparent that Milwaukee was not going to be able to keep up with St. Louis as they really got hot. They still had their sights set on a wild card berth, but even with the extended postseason here this year, the Brewers still couldn't keep up with either the San Diego Padres or Philadelphia Phillies, who, of course, took the last two wild card berths in the NL. And when it's all said and done, Milwaukee, unfortunately, is going to have to watch the postseason from home. Now, for me, Milwaukee's going to look back at this season and see too many games that were lost against teams that they should have beaten. You go back to the early stages of the second half of this season, they had a stretch where they lost 6 out of 7. And in that stretch, they got swept by the Pittsburgh Pirates and they lost 2 out of 3 against the Cincinnati Reds. And both of these clubs are on the verge of losing 100 games this year. You got to take care of your business against the teams that you're supposed to beat. You look back to this past weekend, Milwaukee lost 3 out of 4 at home to the Miami Marlins. And again, another team that is well out of it. These are the games that you got to go out there and win. These are the games that you got to go out there and take care of your business and seal the deal. And Milwaukee just couldn't do it. There's a lot of things that you can look and see where things went wrong for the Brewers this year. I know some people are going to talk about the Josh Hader trade just prior to the deadline. Granted, he was saving games, but he wasn't as lights out as we've seen in recent years. And, Milwaukee figured, this guy's going to be a free agent soon. Let's try to get something back and walk away from it. And that's the narrative when you're talking about a small market team, or the smaller market team, such as the Brewers. They have to, be very economical, if you will, in regards to these situations. On top of that, Milwaukee's batting average this year has not been good. They're near the bottom in the NL in regards to a lot of offensive categories. Their pitching is still good. It just has not been as good as it has been in recent years. But I think one thing that has really befell them, it's been a feast or famine thing. They can hit the long ball, but they don't hit for average. And that's going to be a very important thing because you don't have anybody on this Brewers team this year that's even close to being a 300 hitter. So you look at this thing in the offseason, it's going to be interesting to see what the team's president of baseball ops, David Stearns, wants to do going forward. Do you try to, rebuild, reshape, or just blow this thing up altogether? We got to wait and see. But nonetheless, obviously, you got Christian Yelich under contract for the years to come. And granted, he's still not resembling the player that he was several years ago prior to the injury when he was an MVP, but he still had a better season this year than he has had in recent years. And that has to be promising going forward if you are Milwaukee. But, obviously, some pending free agents coming up, some guys coming up for arbitration. But I think the two key things for Milwaukee are going to be what are they going to do with Brandon Woodruff and Corbin Burns? They're under their control through 2024. Would you trade two of these quality pitchers or one of these quality pitchers before they hit the free agency market, or you want to go out there and give this thing one more shot? I say that because the National League Central is still a very winnable division. You have the Cubs who are trying to rebuild. You have the Pirates and Reds who are trying to figure it out. And then you have the St. Louis Cardinals, who have one of the better and more fluid organizations in baseball. But they have some guys that this is in the end of the line for them, like the likes of Albert Pujols, Adam Wainwright, and Yadier Molina. So we don't know what shape the Cardinals are going to be in next season. Then they have their own free agents as well. So this Central Division is very, very winnable. So if you're Milwaukee and you want to give this thing another shot, you got more than a puncher's chance to go out there and win this division. And of course, when you get to the postseason, anything can happen. It's just been a tough run for Milwaukee getting to the postseason. They got there in 2018, had a great team, and they fell one victory short of getting back to the World Series for the first time since 1982. 2019, they lost to the Washington Nationals in a wild card game. 2020, they lost once again to the Dodgers. And then you go back last year and they lost to the Atlanta Braves in the divisional round in a series that a lot of people expected Milwaukee to win. They were the favorite. Now, when you sum all of that up, all four of the those teams that beat the Brewers in the postseason at least made the World Series. And honestly, the last three in the Nationals, Dodgers, and Braves all went on to win the World Series. So Milwaukee definitely has to sit back and say what could have been. And they're definitely going to say it this year because they were so close, but honestly, they couldn't seal the deal. And they just didn't have, I know they had their bullpen issues, but they just didn't have that guy in their lineup or those guys in that lineup that could really take things over and take charge. And that really hurt them coming down the stretch here in the postseason. So obviously, Milwaukee definitely has to be disappointed of being so close to the postseason, but they're going to be watching the proceedings at home, like the rest of us. And let's see, this is a very important off season for this team. Do they retool or do they reload? We got to wait and see what the Brewers are going to do. But obviously, this is definitely an organization to keep an eye on heading into the winter meetings to see what they do. Either way, as far as the Brewers try to figure out what this team is going to look like heading into 2023. So, folks, that is going to wrap it up. And as always, I want to take this time out to thank you for tuning into the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. I want to take this time out to thank all of you fine folks out there for tuning in. And if you have not already, please feel free to subscribe to this channel. Now, if you're on Twitter, please feel free to follow me at 300 Pounds of Sports. And like I always say, if you follow me, it will be my pleasure to follow you right back. There's also the sports discussion group on Facebook at the Sports Depot 365. You can check it out, drop a line, and be a part of one of the better sports debating sites going on social media. So, once again, fine folks, my name is William Martin. I am signing off, saying take care and have yourselves a wonderful day.